Let's start with a question that echoes in capitals and boardrooms worldwide. Is China, the economic miracle of the last 40 years, on the verge of collapse, or simply navigating a tough transition? Headlines warn of a property market in crisis, soaring youth unemployment, and a looming demographic cliff. Yet some see resilience, a nation pivoting its economy and expanding its global influence. The stakes are enormous. A collapsing China could trigger a global depression and domestic instability in a nuclear-armed nation. A successful transition could cement a new world order. The world has watched China's rise with awe and anxiety. Its growth lifted hundreds of millions from poverty and built the world's factory. But now, the narrative is shifting. The foundations of that miracle are being tested. Is this a crisis or a difficult but manageable transformation? To answer, we must look past the headlines and examine the real pressures and strengths. We'll dissect China's economy, its social fabric, and its global role. Only by weighing evidence for both crisis and continuity can we understand where China is headed. This isn't just academic. The answer will shape the 21st century. So let's dig in and see what the data really tells us. The story of China today is complex, contradictory, and crucial for us all. And that's exactly what we'll explore. For decades, China's economy was unstoppable, powered by state-led investment and exports. Now, growth is slowing. The official 5% target feels ambitious and deflation looms, a dangerous cycle where falling prices sap confidence and spending. The property sector, once a pillar of growth, is in crisis. Giants like Evergrande are drowning in debt, and unfinished buildings haunt the skyline. For millions, real estate was their main savings. Now, it's a source of anxiety. But China isn't standing still. The government is betting big on high-tech manufacturing, electric vehicles, semiconductors, renewables. China already leads in EVs and solar panels, aiming to power its next phase with technology, not construction. This pivot is about more than economics. It's about national security and reducing reliance on the West. The question, can these new engines offset the drag from property and weak consumer demand? Heavy state intervention brings risks: overcapacity, trade disputes, and global pushback. We're watching a high-stakes economic experiment unfold. Is this a strategic leap forward or a desperate gamble? The outcome will define China's future, and the world's. The jury is still out. Let's look deeper. China's challenges go beyond economics. Social and demographic shifts threaten its stability. Youth unemployment has soared above 20%, leaving millions of graduates disillusioned and frustrated. The one-child policy's legacy is clear. China's population is shrinking and aging, straining pensions and shrinking the workforce. This demographic shift isn't temporary. It's a permanent drag on growth. Debt is another ticking time bomb. Local governments, once flush from land sales, now face a severe revenue crunch as the property market stalls. This financial stress weakens public services and deepens economic woes. In response, Xi Jinping's government has tightened control, censoring bad news, boosting surveillance, and prioritizing stability. But can top-down control solve deep-rooted problems, or does it just mask them? The risk suppressing symptoms while the underlying issues fester. China's social contract, prosperity for compliance, is under strain. The next moves will test the system's resilience. The stakes couldn't be higher. China's domestic troubles play out on a tense global stage. Its rivalry with the US defines geopolitics. Tech wars, export controls, and military posturing over Taiwan and the South China Sea. China is pushing for a multipolar world, recalibrating the Belt and Road and building alliances through BRICS and digital infrastructure. But its assertive diplomacy has alienated many, especially in Europe, where concerns over security and data privacy are rising. China's support for Russia in Ukraine has deepened Western distrust, complicating its global ambitions. Beijing tries to project strength and reassurance, but skepticism grows. The risk. In seeking to reshape the global order, China may provoke a coalition determined to contain it. Its diplomatic balancing act is fraught with peril. The world is watching closely. So where does China stand? Crisis or resilience? Pessimists see structural flaws, property busts, debt, demographics, and a stifling state model. They warn of stagnation and instability, a lost decade like Japan's, but with bigger risks. Optimists point to China's strengths: centralized power, manufacturing might, tech leadership, and a huge market. They argue the pain is a necessary transition to a more sustainable high-tech future. The truth? China is walking a high wire. managing old problems while building new engines of growth. Every policy choice is a gamble with global consequences. The era of easy growth is over. Uncertainty reigns. China's future hangs in the balance between stagnation and transformation. The outcome is unwritten. We've explored China's contradictions, crisis and strength, anxiety and ambition. The story isn't finished, it's unfolding now, with global consequences. Understanding China's path is essential for everyone, from investors to citizens. There are no simple answers, only complex realities. So, what do you see? A brittle superpower, or a nation adapting to new challenges? The purpose here isn't to predict, but to help you think critically about the world's most important question. Watch the data, listen to all sides, and decide for yourself. The future may depend on it.